So we're going to spend the first half hour, 40 minutes on presentation. Up here, we have the thesis itself. Over here, if we want to check anything out and look through that, we can do that as well. And then after the presentation, we'll turn it over to questions. Open the floor to the public for however long that takes, 15 minutes or so, and then we'll conclude the public session and go from there.
Absolutely. And the presentation itself is going to start talking about this deliverable piece, the portfolio, and the first half or so talks about that, and then we transition to why the heck we're here in the first place. So, Greenlight Solutions. This is a student sustainability consultant's portfolio, designed as a template for any ASU student to fill out and use as their own, using my own personal experiences and for the content to fill this particular piece out. The synopsis is the first section of the portfolio. And what I decided to include in that was just a brief overview of the organization so that people looking at this piece, who don't know anything about Greenlight Solutions might be able to understand where it came from, where it's headed, and then also what the benefits are, why someone would want to be involved with Greenlight Solutions from a client's perspective and from a member's perspective. And so the origins is a story that I think most of you know pretty well, so I won't go into detail, but essentially a few of us recognize that from constructive criticism we heard from other school sustainability graduates and just from our own understanding of the knowledge we were getting and wanting to be able to apply it, we're recognizing there was a gap there in terms of how to take the theoretical understanding of sustainability that we were getting while we were here at ASU and really applying it to create value for organizations in the community so we can really do good quality work and be rewarded for it. And so we had heard from some graduates that was one of their biggest challenges. They get this great theoretical knowledge, then they go to get a job and they say, I don't know what I can do. I'm a sustainability major, but I don't know how to do sustainability for you. And so we wanted to do sustainability for people and figure out how to do that. So we got the opportunity to do that, and we realized that this was really valuable for us, that we were really learning how to apply the skills that we were learning, and it was a great opportunity for us to get empowered about the knowledge that we were gaining, as well as to really deeper understand what it was we were learning. And so in that context, after we did our first project for the World Wildlife Fund, collaborating with Cognoscary in London, which I believe all of you are aware of, we then decided that, okay, we want to do more of this, and we think other students might want to be able to do this too. Judging by the people in the room, I'm guessing that might be true. So that's how Greenlight Solutions was founded and formed. A little later on in the latter half, we'll talk about what we've accomplished so far, so I'm not going to go into that in detail right now. We'll also talk a little bit about the future of Greenlight Solutions and where we'd like to see this go, but I think ultimately my own vision, and I think the vision of many of us in Greenlight Solutions, we don't see why this not only couldn't be a fixture sustainability group here at ASU, student group that does great work here at ASU, but why we couldn't also scale to be the nation's or even the world's largest student sustainability consulting group. With the right vision and the right action and the right passionate people behind it, I think that's totally attainable. So that the benefits of Greenlight Solutions to clients, obviously for those who are looking to roll out a really comprehensive, extensive sustainability program, they might be looking to hire a whole team of people, or they might be looking to contract with the solution service, or a bigger organization that has the scope to do great big sustainability work in that construct. But for those organizations that are looking to kind of put their foot in the water, put their toe in, and be like, maybe is this for me? I don't know. How do I do sustainability and make it pay me? Is it even possible to make sustainability have a positive ROI? Which those of us who are involved with sustainability recognize that if you have the right long-term perspective and recognize the comprehensive effect that your organization has, it always, almost, has a positive ROI, as long as you're including the externalities that usually your company is responsible for. And so what we're able to do is, since we are pro bono as students, we're getting this great learning experience, and then organizations that maybe can't afford or can't justify to afford to implement sustainability get the opportunity to bring us in to sort of test the waters. And then to members, like we talked about at the beginning in the origins, it gives us the opportunity to deepen our understanding of sustainability, apply it to create value for organizations, really understand what we're passionate about and why we're here and what it is that we really want to do with why we're getting our education, what the work we want to do after we graduate. And a little later on, when we transition from this piece to talking about really why we're in this room, I'll talk more about the bigger picture of that. The right arrow? Here we go, perfect. So the next section of the portfolio is how to use it. So there's a brief section for clients who might be reading someone's portfolio that discusses, this is an opportunity for you to see if this student and this student group might be the right fit for your organization, whether it's to hire Greenlight Solutions to do a project for you, to contract with us to do a project, or maybe it's to hire that student as a graduate, and that student could then work for your organization to fill a need that they've proven that they have the value and the skills and the knowledge to accomplish this. It's sort of like a CV for students in sustainability in a way, or undergrads. And so from that perspective, clients can understand what it is they're getting from the student. Or if a student graduates and wants to go freelance and do their own consulting, it's a body of their work that they can use to back up what they can do for a client. And then from the student's perspective, it talks briefly about how this is supposed to be a template and a tool for you to make your own. And so don't follow this by the book. Don't try to say, Kevin worked for PepsiCo, so I need to go work for PepsiCo. Not like that at all. This is just sort of a house to couch all of your work that you're doing as a student and everything that you're building up. And the sections are broken out in a way that you can make it your own. And so that section talks about how a student can do that. And then there are also little subsections, little subdescriptions at the start of each of the other sections that speak to how to fill out that particular question. Include this type of information in this section, and you want to focus kind of maybe in this area. Talk about the benefit you created, and then leave the bulk of the content for the addendum. And we'll talk about that again a little bit later as well. So personal information is the next section, and that briefly is just your contact info, good picture if you have it, and then a personal branding mission and vision statement. So this isn't something you're going to get on a resume. This isn't something you're going to get in general from a lot of people, but I think it's really important because it speaks to why it is you're doing what you're doing, why it is you're passionate about what you're studying, why it is that you are going to do great work for the client you're going to work for because you're passionate about that work you're going to do. Because it speaks to who you are and what it is why you're the best person for that job. And that's where the importance of the branding, mission, and vision statements are in my book and why I made it in the portfolio. And then the why statement is sort of your story. So where do you come from? What's motivated you to do this work? Why is it that is your mission and vision and personal branding statement? So your why should be kind of a gut-wrenching story. It should be revealing. It should be transparent. And I think that also engenders a sense of trust and respect from a prospective client or a prospective member, because they say, wow, this person's saying they're going to do this stuff. They're telling me that this is their mission. They're telling me this is where they come from because they had these experiences and they've got the work to back it up. Okay, if what they're speaking about is the need we have, I don't see any reason why not to bring this person on. So that's the point of that section. So then the school sections are a little more traditional, a little more typical. The resume, and it could be under professional or school, but I house it under school sections because a lot of students, will have a limited amount of professional experience. Maybe an internship here or there. Maybe they've worked at, Pizza Hut or something, Jimmy John's, something like that. But if there's more than that, definitely include the latest version of your resume. And then some relevant courses. And that's not every course you've taken, but that's, the ones that have really helped you to understand how to collaborate with a team, to assess a challenge and a problem situation, and determine the primary constraint, and then come up with solutions to solve that constraint. Problem solving, solution creating, that's what work is about. And so the courses that were the descriptions, just the brief descriptions can describe how that work has enabled you to become this portfolio representative person that you are. And then school projects that speak to the same. So projects that have enabled you to collaborate and do the same sort of work to build up that experience that you can do. As we all know, most work, unless you're a lone wolf, most work involves collaborating with people. And so that's one of the primary things that when you graduate, people are going to want to see. That you're able to work well with others. Because if you can't, odds are you're not going to get hired in an organization. You're going to have to be a lone wolf and do your own thing. And that's fine. And some people, that's their right. But if you're looking to find gainful employment, people don't want to bring in someone who's going to butt heads with everybody. So, so sustainability work. So this speaks to kind of your specialty, what I call your sustainability subject specialty. I initially was calling that your subject matter expertise, but I realized that we don't really have the depth to quite call it that, especially as undergrads. Perhaps if a PhD student here from School of Sustainability decided to use this portfolio template as well, then yeah, subject matter expertise might make the most sense. But in this context, I limit it to sustainability subject specialty. So it's what you're most interested in sustainability. It's what you like the most. In my portfolio, I ended up focusing around communications, around energy, and around waste diversion. So those are the three areas that I'm most interested in, I've done the most research in, I've done the most work in. So those are my kind of specialties in sustainability. So you include that work in this portfolio. And then your GLS project summaries. If you're not a GLS member, obviously this is a section you can remove. But if you are, this is a place to put the case studies that we'll do based on each project that you work on right into your portfolio. And they're going to be available on our website. They can also be available right here in your portfolio to say, hey, you know what, this is the work that I did that shows exactly what it is that I'm passionate about and shows that I'm getting the experience that I need to do this. So then education. This isn't all GLS education, but I kind of housed it under that because we have training through GLS where we work with our grade advisory board and bring in mentors to teach us how to do our projects better, how to execute better, how to solve problems better. And then also we have a ongoing stream in Greenlight Solutions of educational opportunities, whether it's speaking events that we can attend, conferences we can go to, and I think the body of that opportunity to get great education in sustainability is going to continue to grow as our organization grows. I'd love to see what we can put together next semester with potentially the Green Build, Green Biz Forum, or who knows? Who knows what's possible in the future? But I think that's a key component of Greenlight Solutions. And then in terms of organizational development and leadership, that doesn't have to come from Greenlight Solutions. Maybe you're the president of your fraternity and you lead a group of people to do good charity work and have fellowship events, and you can speak to that organizational development and leadership the experience that you have. For me, I included the experiences that I've had through Greenlight Solutions. I've had other experiences as well, but that seemed most relevant here. So I included the organizational development and leadership experiences that I've had through Greenlight, and then some of the key deliverable items that we created as a group in Greenlight Solutions that I was a part of, that I'm proud of, in terms of that organizational development. So the Constitution, and these four pieces I've included in the portfolio because they speak to how we can co-create this intellectual property that guides and leads an organization. That's what organizational development's about. And so Constitution speaks to what we are, how we're made up. It's our mission and vision, and it's our organizational structure and our leadership roles and our membership descriptions and requirements and all of those components. The VMOS, the vision, mission, objectives, strategies, and tactics, speaks to what we're going to accomplish, what we do on a semester by semester basis. So we rebuild the VMOS every semester that speaks to what our goals are for this semester, our vision broadly for the semester for the organization, and the mission comes straight from the Constitution. But then we think about how in this current semester we can have objectives that are going to help us to achieve that mission and vision. And then what are the strategies and the tactics that will help us achieve those objectives this semester? And then the Greenlight Guidelines is a tool we all created that's a 10-step process of how we engage directly with a client. So this is guiding our members while working on projects to know how to engage in our way with the clients. And this we co-created as well. And is a 10-step process that starts with conversation with the client about sustainability from their perspective and how their organization relates with sustainability in the world. And then how do you draft a vision and mission statement for your organization around sustainability that'll drive you toward the right objectives. And then we process through the design phases and the execution phases, and then all the way through to the deliverable phase and reporting. So we publicly report through our case studies the work we've done and share with the world the good we're doing, and then the client can share with the world the good they're doing. And then the application process is something I think we're also pretty proud of because it's been surprisingly effective. as in terms of the specific criteria questions we use in the application and the rubric we use to judge those applications in a fair way. Without directly interviewing people to date, we have brought on some really top talent here at ASU who have been really excited about working with us, have given us phenomenal effort, and we've co-created and collaborated together to bring in another group of the same thing this semester. And one of the challenges we'll talk about later is engagement from our members. And we were just having a talk on Monday night about engagement from our members and realizing our engagement level is actually higher than we thought. We were concerned because we weren't getting constant responses from people that they weren't engaged. But the reality was that was their engagement level. That's their time frame. That's their ability. That's their availability. And just because they're not at every event doesn't mean they're not getting everything they want out of it. Doesn't mean they're not contributing valuably to the project they're on, which is really ultimately our primary goal and deliverable, is the work we do with clients. And so those members who maybe don't go to the executive meetings and don't go to the extra training and the education, they're still doing good work on projects and still getting good value out of being involved in our organization. So to have 1 or 2 people out of a total of about 40 plus who have joined our organization at one point or another, I think is, through one avenue or another, it is a pretty strong representation of our application process. So then the professional sections speak to your professional work experience, any work you have outside the classroom. For me as a non-traditional returning student, that section's a little longer for me than maybe some other students might have. But any specific work you've done, maybe it's community volunteer work where you lead, or maybe it is something you've done, it's a chapter volunteer, your fraternity has volunteered and done work, and you can put that up there, or you've worked at Jimmy John's, or whatever your work experience is, show what you've learned through that and how that's helped you grow, and include it in here. Your professional network is a spot where you can talk about all the people you met and name drop. No, I'm kidding. No name dropping at all in there. That's for speaking about the value of connecting with people and creating value for other people and building relationships through helping people, and how it's true what they say that it's 90% who you know and 10% what you know. The reality is that, like we were talking about before with the lone wolf, people really are going to choose to work with people they like, people they want to work with. And so your network is representative of those people whom you've shown you can create value for and you can collaborate with, and they enjoy that with you. And these are people, so the network section just speaks to your ability to make a statement about that, to say, I have had the opportunity to recognize that collaboration is key, and I've been able to connect with some great people. And I've also joined there's a section for listing some specific professional organizations that you may have joined. Whether it's for us the SCMA, the Supply Chain Management Association here at ASU, or the Honor Society for Sustainability, or maybe an outside organization that you've joined. Maybe you're a member of the Green Chamber of Commerce here in Phoenix. Whatever it is that you're a member of that's representative of where you're headed and your ability to connect with people. The professional publications, I'm not a research-oriented guy, so this area is smaller for my portfolio. But it's anywhere you've done a body of research and been able to deliver something, whether it's a collective of information or something new, some good research you've had published, or in this case, I included our project with the World Wildlife Fund, because while we did have a small piece of that, it did get published on their website. I also included a documentary film I filmed at MCC because it got published through their outreach streams. But for me, publication isn't my greatest body. And then professional presentations, anytime you've had the opportunity to get up and present in a professional manner, much like this, or in an internship, or if you've had a really killer one in class where you was a competition and you won it and you did best and got really commended for it, or for me, I had the opportunity to be the valedictorian at Mesa Community College, so I was the graduation speaker there, and so that's one of the presentations I included in here. I was really proud of that opportunity. So those are the kinds of presentations you can include in here. So last part of the portfolio is the addendum. And so this is, as Mike put it very accurately, it's sort of the shock and awe section. It's the, if you're a client or if you're a prospective member, and you see, you've got this portfolio in front of you, and you're like, okay, this person blows a lot of smoke, they say they do a lot of things, can they really back it up? Is it really true? Because I don't know that person, right? Then here's all this extra information, which is 2/3 or 3/4 of the document, that is the actual body of the projects that you had brief summaries about. So most people aren't going to read through all that, and that's totally okay. But it still shows evidence and credibility that you really have done the work that you're saying you've done. And it also shows, for those who do take an interest, like for instance, my roommate was doing some proofreading for me, and I've told her some stories about the work that I'm doing over time. But when she was reading it, she said it was really fun to go and look at the projects and learn more about them more in depth, because she's heard about them lightly. But so if you take an interest, if your client, or maybe your client says, hey, this project they did in waste diversion, and we really want to do that. Devour Phoenix wants to divert their cardboard, and this guy worked for PepsiCo and helped them divert their bottles, from landfill. That seems really relevant. Let me read that project, see what he was able to accomplish. Maybe this really is directly relevant. So, or from a member's perspective, maybe a member that wants to join is really interested in the organization, but wants to see the depth of the work that we can do, or that individuals have done. They can look at and read deeper into the interest of that. So that is the portfolio. I'll pause a moment here to see if there are any burning questions that can't wait till the end regarding the portfolio itself. And if not, then we'll move forward to the transition from, okay, we've got this big, obnoxious 170-page thing that I've put together for this deliverable, and I say obnoxious just because who's going to read 170 pages? I've really enjoyed this. For me, it's been a labor of love. I've really enjoyed the process. It's been fun for me to look back at the work I've done. I'm proud of the work I've done, and I'm proud not because, hey, I'm the man, but because I know that I'm doing good for the work that I'm doing in here. I know that I'm helping people, and I'm helping to improve the environment, and I'm helping to collaborate with people, and so I'm proud of this piece. But this is just a piece of why we're really here in this room today, and the reason we're here is Greenlight Solutions as a whole. And so for me, Greenlight Solutions is all about catalyzing change, catalyzing positive change in the world, and which is what school sustainability is all about. It's what we're all about as people who are trying to improve ourselves and get a higher education and go create greater value in the world. That's what this is really all about. And so a couple of questions I put in here in that regard. I think the core questions that we're trying to address here with Greenlight Solutions are, how do we enable students to do work that fits their passions? So you don't get out there and become one of those people who works for the weekend, who's miserable at their job 5 days a week, but has a bunch of student debt to pay and a bunch of bills to pay. So they gotta stay in that job they're stuck in, but they didn't know what the heck they wanted to do with their lives, so now they're doing something they don't love, and they hate it all week, and then they think, oh, they got the weekend and they can drink and watch football. It's like, I enjoy watching some football too, but that doesn't sound like a happy life to me. And far too many people live that life. And so, my personal mission and vision, and my mission in life really is to help as many people as possible to become happy, healthy, and free. And so this is one of those methods that I want to help catalyze that. And so the other question here is, how do we ensure that students can find work after graduation that benefits our society? So you don't just go out and keep contributing to the status quo that might be detrimental to our society. Just because it is the way it is now and you can go get a job that'll pay your bills so you can watch your football on the weekend. Maybe you want to do more than that. Maybe you want to feel empowered. Maybe you want to do good. There have been a lot of studies that have shown that the happiest people are the people who help other people. When you show appreciation and help other people. And so if you can find work that does that, you might be a lot more empowered, you might be a lot happier, you might earn more money because you're more passionate about what you're doing and invest yourself in it more. So those are, I think, the primary questions we're trying to address here with Greenlight Solutions. So this is what we've accomplished so far as a group in Greenlight Solutions. We've been around 2 semesters now and a summer. We have 30 plus current members. And some alumni, and some sort of semi-affiliated. If we were to have a honorary membership status, we'd have a couple of those. We've had 7 clients now, one of which was international. We've been able to collaborate with and create value for 7 different clients. And we formed this organization that has these guiding documents, a constitution, the guidelines, the application process, and the VMOS, which we spoke about earlier, which sort of form the basis for how we do what we do. and hopefully for how others can continue to do what we do after the founders graduate and the initial chapter members graduate. And then we have this portfolio, which is a tool in Greenlight Solutions that each member can use to make their own and to empower them and to use also with our clients. So we have some things we still need. We still need a good growth strategy, a sustainable growth strategy, one that's not going to try to drive toward exponential growth. Let's take on 10 clients next semester and then 15 the next. Whoa. Let's do quality over quantity here. And how do we bring in? Let's go to 50 members. Let's go to 100. Whoa. Same scenario. Let's make sure we're engaging our members we have. Let's make sure that we are really pairing our members well with the projects they're doing. Let's make sure we're doing this really well and growing in a sustainable way. And once we're doing that, how do we package that? So, the human capital, that's us, that's the members. The client pipeline, that's engagement with clients. And then potentially sister chapters down the road, that's the scaling and packaging and sharing with other schools. How do we get higher engagement? I think we talked about that a little bit in that, our engagement is pretty solid, but I think there's always room for improvement at the same time. So I think through our education committee and our recruitment committees and the processes we're creating for really identifying the needs of the members and how do we fulfill them, and identifying the needs of our organization, how do we fulfill them, needs of our clients, how do we fulfill them, we can increase our engagement level. And then clear communications. We're recognizing as we're growing, there are pains with growing. And one of those pains is how do you communicate effectively with everyone you're involved with in your organizations? Everyone communicates differently. We send a lot of emails. Not everybody checks their email. We'd like them to, just a reality they don't. It might be a good lesson for them down the road that when they get in the professional environment, we live on email. And so if they're not getting used to that in school, they're setting themselves behind. So there's a lesson to learn there. But at the same time, until they make that breakthrough, how are we communicating with them? So we're growing our social media communication strategies through Facebook and through LinkedIn. And those need some work still, but they're starting and they're growing, and there's a good start there. And then financial sustainability, which leads to another discussion about our organizational structure. But right now, we don't have the budget to buy polos for all our new members. That's sad. That's bad. That's a problem. And we need to resolve it. We're doing some crafty manipulation to try to get it done this semester, but it's not sustainable. That's how we got our polos last semester. We got a donation from Vladdy's other organization that he was working with. They had some surplus funds and they donated them to us. That was great. That's not sustainable. Donations just aren't sustainable. There's a similar situation this semester. I have a previous student organization that had some funds left over that I'm trying to get donated to Greenlight, but I got to go through the right hoops, and it's taking time. And it's not, I'd love to have a polo for every new member at our welcome event. We don't have that. And it's kind of, how does that look to our members, for us to be like, yeah, you get a polo someday. It's like, yeah, no, that's not really what we're shooting for here. We gave them some business cards. That's pretty cool, but, what's a business card? I can print those at, Vistaprint for $5 shipping, right? So our financial stability is something, sustainability is something that we need to work toward, and that raises the question of, does it make sense for us to stay a student organization? Because we have a limited amount of budget that comes from USG, both in quantity and in flexibility. It was a good start, and I think it was the right place for us to start because it enables us to ramp up quickly, to get access to those funds so we could start doing what we needed to do quickly. But I don't know if it makes sense in the long run to stay a student org. It might. I think that warrants further investigation. But it might make sense for us to form a nonprofit that can then get tax-deductible donations from organizations and aspects like that where we can really thoroughly flesh out a process that we've started around donations from our clients for the work that we do. If we could have a firm process that says, we know now that we do great work for you, and we have a bit of an expectation. We're going to charge you a whole lot less than you're going to get from anyone else to do sustainability work, which is why we're still helping you with that break-in, toe-in-the-water kind of sustainability work, but we do have to keep our polos on our backs at the same time. So a donation from you would really help us to do that. So we need to talk further, I think, as a group about how we can ensure our financial sustainability and what organizational structure will make the most sense for that. Maybe it's a B Corp. a for-profit model that is structured in such a way that the benefit that we deliver stays the primary core of our organization. I think that, in general, warrants a lot more investigation by our whole organization. And some tools we need, which we're working on right now, we need a handbook for our students. That's a piece that we're working on right now as a group. Included in that handbook, so that's like each member can then be like, okay, now I'm a member of Greenlight Solutions. What do I do? What does it mean to be a member? So that'll include a culture statement. It's talking about what are the people in Greenlight Solutions like? What's our character like? We're positive, like-minded, motivated people who want to change the world and make a difference, make it a better place, want to recognize how we can do good and then be rewarded once we graduate for that value by good jobs and doing good work in the community. Some sort of a statement around what the culture is like. Plus, we have a lot of fun in Greenlight Solutions all the time, and we're always learning. And so all of those things need to be incorporated into a culture statement, which we're working on right now. And then a code of conduct. So it's sort of, we all agree that this is how we're going to carry ourselves. This is how we want to be representing Greenlight Solutions, ASU, school sustainability. This is how we want to represent ourselves to others. And if we're found lacking in that representation, we understand that it's appropriate for people to help us understand that we are lacking in that area and we need to change. Because that's, I think, an important component of how we continue to stay the organization that we are. And then some videos. I think that's one of the ways we can communicate better, is if we do some fun videos, some descriptive videos, short videos, 1 to 3 minutes maybe, that talk about, hey, Greenlight Solutions, welcome. I'm glad you're in. This is the student handbook. Now that you're in, take a skim through this, make sure you understand it, and see if you agree with it, because that's where we're coming from. We want to hear your input. And then another short video that talks about, this is our VMOS. This is how we take our vision and mission, and we do work for the semester. We guide ourselves. And the same thing for each of our primary organizational components. Same, the guidelines. This is how we engage with the client. I think that videos might help engage our younger audience, and really are just everybody. I prefer videos over reading. Who doesn't prefer a video? I mean, what they say, about 80-90% of all statistics are made up on the spot. 80 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. And so writing is a verbal form of communication. Well, as explicit as you might be and deliberate about your word choice, you're still missing inflection. You're still missing body language. And all these things that can be delivered a lot better in a video. So I think we need to build some video banks, and then maybe a guide to how our education might be. I think this is a piece internally for our leadership to guide the education committee. What kind of educational events do we want to host each semester? Maybe we want to eventually host a conference. Maybe eventually we want to host a case competition. What sort of things do we want to do that are educational that we want to host on an ongoing basis? And here are tips for how to do that every semester. GLS chapter launch book. So that speaks to the scaling. Once we have this here in a strong and sustainable way here at ASU, how do we package that and go to another school, say the Earth Institute at Columbia, which is where I'm going to be living after I graduate next summer in New York. I'd love to be able to go to Columbia next fall or the following spring and say, hey, you're doing great work in this space. We love what you're doing. We've been doing some of the same work at ASU, and we found a way to catalyze our students to do more of that work. So it's something you'd be interested in. Here you go. It's already packaged and ready. And then they just need a champion at their school who's going to lead it from the faculty, and some students who are passionate about it to lead it, and boom, they're ready to launch. So how do we build that launch book? And then a training program. So maybe we want, with the recruitment committee and the education committee, maybe there's some specific Greenlight Solutions training that we can go through. As soon as you're a new member, watch these series of videos, read these documents, and get on the Carbonation project. And then be thinking about what is your next project you want to do. What makes the most sense to you? So I think these are some of the key tools that we can build going forward in Greenlight Solutions. And how can ASU help? Whether it's GEOS, the School Sustainability, the Walton Sustainability Solutions Initiatives, or just ASU broadly, there's a whole lot of things that can be brought to the table here. We can collaborate to co-create here, from mentorship to networking, to potentially even financing, depending on how we decide to structure our organization. And so that is, I think, open to further dialogue with the leaders of these organizations that we would want to work with, and to see where potential mutually beneficial collaborations could live. With that, right about on time. All right, sweet. 30 to 45 minutes. The next slide is questions, comments, suggestions from any and all of you for the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. And if you'll go one more, ta-da! Which you already got a sneak preview of, unfortunately. But the way I see it, Greenlight Solutions is all about sustainability, consulting, and catalyzing students. And this is representative of the infinity symbol, which is embedded in our logo, which represents the continuous nature of the need for constant improvement and sustainability. Thank you. Questions, comments, suggestions?
I would just like to say that, in all of us, I know we're going to all know this or at least agree, but the tide of the knowledge of America is turning. And I heard two more on public radio about how before Sandy, Congress, probably unaware of it, passed some FEMA regulations that are already starting to impact insurance in Florida, particularly, jacking those rates way up. Not perhaps on sea level rise, but on storm surge. And then also, a man, retired businessman, took every business from the New York Stock Exchange that he could find the records, which is most of them, and read their annual report and pulled out climate change. And when they mentioned it, how did they mention it? How was it about concern for laws about to be passed, perhaps? Was it about liability on lawsuits? Or was it just a business operation, how we modify our business plans? So all of us in the school and everything we do, once that tide is obvious to everyone, that this is going to be, I think, the way for the future, and how we get our energy, how we use our energy and everything. So anything we can do to support efforts such as this is in this school and everything is critical. So
thank you.
So I don't really have a strong professional publications section. I mean, I've never had any of my work published. How would you suggest a student who's looking to use your platform, you know, if they don't have any publication experience, you know, like what do they put in that section? Do they just kind of leave it blank or move on to the next one?
So that's a good question. I was talking with Mike about this just the other day, and I don't see this as, and I talked to this, actually, got it up here, might as well. If you could click on the the how-to. Yeah, there we go. For students, if you scroll down just a little bit there. First thing is do not freak out. Okay? Do not freak out, okay? This document is freaking huge, but I've been doing this work for 5 years now. And project after project after project, I've had a vision that I've been trying to achieve. And so each time I had work I had to do in school or outside of school, I've thought about how can it relate to this vision I have. And so that's why I have this big body of content. And so I see this as a tool that publicly available on our website, freshmen can download and look at and go, wow, someday. And at the same time, go with someday, I got to start today to get to someday. And so they have this template in front of them. So each step of the way as they go. What I say right there is most of the content is made up of work you will already be doing for one reason or another. This just provides a format for organizing what you've accomplished. So it gives you a dumping ground. You say, I did this work and I was really fun, I was really proud of it, it's a great thing. You know how you do that? Like you work on something real hard, you build it up, you present it, you deliver it, everyone goes, yeah, good for you, you get a trophy, you're like, sweet. And then it's the next day and you're like, what happened? And you forget and you go out the rest of your life. And then you don't remember. And this gives you an opportunity to put that somewhere and say, okay, I've got it tucked away for later, so I know that when I need to present the body of what I've done, I've got it saved. You know what I mean? So it's not something you have to go, crap, I gotta go fill all this out now. No, it's not like that. So maybe it's an opportunity for someone like myself who realizes I don't have a lot published. And if I want to be someone who speaks from an area of expertise, I might need to start publishing some work. So maybe that's somewhere I need to focus. Maybe that's somewhere I need to do a little more work. Maybe it's an area that's not a strength for me, it's a weakness. Maybe I need to collaborate with people who do really good published work, who really do great research, and my strengths lie elsewhere. So it's a good self-analysis tool, and recognize where kind of on that spectrum you lie. Do more of that, or recognize it's not for you, and collaborate. and then make a statement about it. And say, initially you can say, I don't have a lot here, but I'm working on it. Or I don't have a lot here because it's not my passion, and I'm really good at collaborating with people who do this. And so that way, it's not like, ooh, I don't want to do this because I can't fill out that section. You know what I mean? Answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'm just going to preface this because it's not a knock on you, but it's just something for us to think about in the future. Part of your vision is, chapters and creating a kind of segmented green light everywhere. And one of the benefits of that is and challenges really is going to be making sure communication between all those chapters and collaboration is still strong. And kind of the birth of this organization, as we know, is kind of with your work with Cognoscry and everything. And we haven't really had a chance to collaborate or talk about them with that since the initiation. And now, so do you have some kind of plans and visions to how to address that communication aspect between chapters, and make sure that when you get to that point that collaboration is still strong and is continual?
So you've kind of touched on a few questions there.
Yeah.
They're kind of really broad. To speak to Cognoscry, I think that relationship isn't being held strong right now, but I think it's still there. And I think we could still reach out to them to rebuild that relationship and do work with them. I think that we recognized through the summer and into this semester that we kind of need to focus on home base and make sure we're really doing what we're doing here well before we start adding the complications of reaching abroad. But that potentiality is definitely there, proven in our first project. And in regards to the communication challenges and organizational collaboration challenges that might occur if we were to scale to other chapters, I think when that point comes around, I think there's an opportunity for an alumni organization. So a group of GLS alumni to form a graduate organization that helps to lead and guide and connect those chapters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
After you created this, have you had the opportunity yet to take a step back and take a look at it again and see, I might be missing this, or have you based this work on somebody else's work as well, and being able to see some of the things that you might need to add or bring it to your work as well as you also doing this during this process?
And by this, do you mean the presentation or the portfolio? Or
the portfolio, yeah,
the portfolio,
your thesis.
okay, a broad thesis,
Yeah, your
portfolio.
thesis.
So I haven't really built it on any other examples. I kind of just thought through, for me, what I think might be valuable. And so that has strengths and weaknesses. I've looked at some other, I've tried to look for some other portfolios, but they're, in terms of a sustainability consultant, it's kind of a real niche. And people aren't always real public with their CVs. And finding that, I mean, that's sort of relative to a CV. And so I wasn't, I didn't dig deep into a body of CVs to compare to. And I also recognize that it's really kind of different than a CV because CVs typically for a professional, typically in Europe, but we're incorporating them here, especially in those who have done a lot of research. A lot of faculty use CVs. And so I didn't really take that route. I wanted to take the route of, let's see what I can grow organically. And then from there, it's always in constant improvement. So from here, so much like we did with the Green Light Guidelines, we started looking briefly, and I did this, I looked briefly around at what else was out there to guide the structure of this and what would go into it. And I didn't find anything that I wanted to use as a template by any means, but I got some ideas. I gleaned some ideas and some thoughts that kind of lived up there while I was making it. Just like with the Green Light Guidelines, we looked at some other delivery methods that other sustainability consulting groups do, and we kind of left them up there. And then we did our own. And we said, let's see what it is that we want to bring out. And then once we bring that to life, let's look at the others and see how we can improve it. And so that's where this is at now. It's at a point where it can continually evolve and improve and be looked at and compared to other portfolios, other CVs, other pieces to improve. Does that answer your question?
I have a question that draws a little bit on irony, and it's maybe something that will be more considered in the future as Greenlight Solution grows. But as a consultancy, a student-based consultancy, we look at companies to green their operations for, just to make it brief, let's say that. But what is Greenlight Solutions doing to portray what they do as an entity to the outside entities or outside enterprises, just to show what they're doing, their operations, how they're doing green? Obviously, we're working with companies, but where is our report? Obviously, we have shirts that are made from recycled materials, but I don't know if we've been publishing this at all, or if we've made note of this, but...
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a future piece that we could add to Greenlight Solutions is our own sustainability report. I think that might be really valuable. Publish our own. You know, we choose to have bamboo charcoal polos. We choose to do all our work electronically, not on paper. We choose to collaborate virtually instead of transportation impact. You know, we choose, not to travel via public transportation when we meet with a client. You know, all these things we choose to do that represent our brand and what it is that we're trying to do here. That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer, but I think it's something valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it might be a good way to show to outside parties, to clients and members, that we walk the walk.
Of course.
I like that a lot. And it might be a really fun project for our cohort to take on, to engage the cohort in producing that.
Certainly.
Absolutely. Maybe that's a great project for next semester.
Nice.
Thank you, Frank. Hope somebody's taking notes. Oh yeah, I'm recording it. Any other questions? Comments? I want to thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I've been so absorbed with creating this, I realized Sunday, I was like, oh crap, I didn't really tell anybody I was doing it. So, I mean, I think last week I mentioned it in our executive board meeting, and I mentioned it again this week, and then sent out a few invitations, and I'm glad each of you could be here. I appreciate your support. And with that, go about your day. Take some veggies if they're not all gone. And thanks very much.